Hey, what is up, guys? Joseph here for a series that I started a long time ago, but I never really did anything else with it, the ranking series. Now, the way this series works is I take a subject, for example, today is going to be ranking the Walking Dead villains. So I take the subject and I find every single possible participant, I guess you could call them, and I rank them from worst to first. That's basically how this series works. Now, I'm going ahead and tell you this. This list will all be nothing but people. The Walkers did not make an appearance on this list. So, let's go ahead and get started. My least favorite villain in the show is the Vatos gang. For those of you who may not remember, the group of people in season 1 who kidnapped Glenn and was trying to steal the guns in Atlanta. Those people, it was just a group of guys from season 1. They didn't really hold that much of a threat for me. I mean, they kidnapped Glenn, but I knew there was no way they were going to kill Glenn off that way with a villain, something like that. And to find out that they were just a bunch of nurses and janitors for an old folks home, they were just underdeveloped and really uncalled for, really. But, I mean, and to find out that they got taken out pretty much right after we got introduced to them. But Vatos gang, my least favorite villain in the whole series. Some people consider this guy an anti-hero, and some see him as a straight-up villain. Merle Dixon. I just put him on here because up until the end, or the reunion between Daryl and Merle was a villain. He tried to kill Glenn. He was a racist. He kidnapped Maggie and Glenn, took them to the governor, and governor attempted to rape Maggie, even though he stopped himself. But he did see the error of his ways in the end, and that's why he is this low on the list. So Merle Dixon is number 18. Next on the list, I'll be honest, I never really considered this guy a villain, and that's just Dr. Edwin Jenner. Now, I don't know why I never considered him a villain. I never really considered him a good guy. He was just there. He was just a character. I didn't really consider him a good guy. I didn't really consider him a straight up bad guy. And I guess just we've met so many more dastardly guys in the show than Jenner. But watching TS19, the season 1 finale, back again, with everything he did, everything he tried to do with blowing up the CDC, trying to keep Rick and company trapped, he is a villain, straight up a villain, and I don't know why I didn't see it before, but he's a bad guy. Now, from season 2, these guys are my least favorite part about season 2. Dave, Tony, and Randall. Those 3 guys. I actually like season 2. I know when it aired, when it was happening, I didn't really care for it. Like, minus a few episodes here and there, I didn't really care for the entire season 2. But binge watching season 2, it's a great season. But these guys, Dave, Tony, and Randall, I just do not like. And not really don't like as the good kind of, that kind of way, like you're supposed to not like the villain. Like, I just don't like them as a villain at all. They're just way underdeveloped.
like I said, I don't hate them, but they could have been much better. The only reason they're this high is because of they led to two of my favorite episodes in the whole series. 18 Miles Out and Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Those two episodes wouldn't have happened without those three guys. Well, really Randall. So that's why they're this high. Probably the most underwhelming group of villains in the entire series. The Wolves. The Wolves was a group that was built up as this titan of a villainous group. The potential of the Wolves were so huge, and it just happened in one episode. That's it. And when the episode aired, it was a good episode. JSS, another episode that the group led to, that is one of my favorite in the entire series. So that's why they're this high, was because they led to JSS, and also No Way Out, because of that battle they led the Walkers to Alexandria, and that whole episode happened. So JSS and No Way Out happened because of the Wolves, but the battle of the Wolves versus Alexandria, it just didn't live up to the hype. Next on the list is Pete. Actually, Pete arguably isn't really that bad of a guy. Me and Rick was trying to steal his wife from him, so I mean, then again, he was an abusive husband because he was drunk all the time. But he was only abusive when he was drunk. When he was sober, he seemed like a nice guy. But when he got drunk, he just turned into that abusive. So, okay, yeah, he is a villain. Father like son. Next on the list is Ron. I hated Ron. Not as much as I hated Sam, but I still hated Ron. Only reason he's this high is because, unlike those below him, the ones that I've mentioned so far, he actually did something worthwhile. He shot Carl and got his eye blown out. I can't really say that for many of these other people so far, anyways. Well, talked about abusive husbands with Pete, but Ed is way much worse than Pete was. Like I said, Pete was, when he was sober, he seemed like a nice guy. Ed was a jerk all around 24/7. I hated Ed so much more. I mean, not only was he physically abusive towards Carol, and this might be just me misinterpreting this. I'll play this scene right quick, but this may be me just misinterpreting this scene. But I think he might have sexually assaulted Sophia. I'll play the scene right now and I'll let you guys see it.
Hey, why don't you stay here? Keep your daddy company.
Now, like I said, maybe I'm just misinterpreting that. It's happened before. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you guys agree or if I'm just overthinking it or whatever. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you think of it. Next on the list is Dawn. I'll be honest, these episodes with her, the hospital episodes in season 5, I haven't really rewatched since they aired because I don't like them. Well, I did rewatch them one time, but that was it. So I've watched those episodes twice. One when it was aired, and two binge watching on Netflix. But I do not. Those are the only episodes that I cannot defend. Really defend. All the others I can defend 24/7, but the hospital episodes I skip when I binge watch the series now. But she killed Beth because she was acting like a little child who couldn't get away when who couldn't get away when Rick and company came to rescue Beth, and she let Beth go, but she wanted Noah back. But she may be a better villain than I remember, but I really don't care that much about her or that storyline to watch those episodes again, because I don't really care for those episodes. But I remember she was a decent villain, but nothing really too great. Alright, made it to the top 10. Number 10 is the Claimers. Now, the Claimers, I feel, are way better in the show than they were in the comics. In the comics, it was literally just a random encounter. On one page, Rick and Abraham are just talking, and you flip the page, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of marauders. In the comics, they were called marauders, but a bunch of people that pretty much played out the exact same way in the season 4 finale. Season 4 finale. But the Claimers in the show were way better developed than they were in the comics. And the show, you understood their motive, and when the stuff happened in season 4 finale, you actually cared what happened, because then again, they weren't going to do anything really. But anyways, in the show, their motive was a lot better than it was in the comics. In the show, it was to get revenge on their friend who got murdered, and in the comics, it was maybe just to take what Rick and Abraham and Carl had. Was Michonne with them? I can't remember if Michonne was with them. I haven't read those issues in a while, but whoever was with them, I know Rick and Abraham and Carl. Those are the only three I know for sure was part of it, or on the receiving end of it, whatever. But the Claimers were a good group of villains. The Weasel of the Hilltop Colony. Gregory. Oh man, I hated Gregory. Or hate Gregory, still do. He's, unlike most of these on this list, or unlike most of the Walking Dead villains, he's not really that threatening. Minus one comic moment that hasn't happened yet in the show, that leads to his ultimate death. If you read the comics, you know what happens, but I'm thinking that's gonna. Originally, when I made my season 8 death predictions, I thought that would happen this season. It's gonna happen next season. I don't see it happening this season anymore. But it's gonna happen in season 9, I'm assuming. But minus that, he's not really that kind of threatening villain. He's just is a coward, basically. Jadis and the rest of the garbage people. Just when I thought that they would finally join Rick, they run away and betray him yet again. And speaking of which, what are they supposed to be called? Garbage people, Garbage Pail Kids? I know that's what they were called when they were first, being cast, and Garbage Pail Kids was their introduction name, Spoiling Dead fans call them. I don't think they've been called Garbage Pail Kids in the show at all. Trash hipsters, I've heard people call them. I've heard people call them different things. I don't know what their group name is. Whatever. But I actually had a thought recently, and I don't know if anybody else has thought about this. Probably so. It wouldn't be the first time I've This it wouldn't be the first time I've had a thought that turned out to be someone else's. But as far as I know, I'm the only person that has thought about this. If I'm not, comment down below and let me know. But what if Jadis and the rest of these garbage people are the origin of the Whisperers? If you don't know who the Whisperers are, if you want to find out, go look it up. I'm not really going to spoil it, because the Whisperers are going to be the next big bad villain after the war against Negan. And yeah, I know it's a pretty far-fetched, because they haven't really lived like the Whisperers do. They haven't really adapted that lifestyle yet. Maybe it won't happen. It's just a crazy thought that crazier things have happened on this show. I mean, it's possible, but again, it's not possible. It's just one of those things. If it happens, great. If not, whatever. I really don't care. Well, it's just a thought that came into my mind, but let me know what you guys think about that. But it probably won't happen. Tomas and Andrew. These two guys, mainly Tomas, he was the first villain I was actually concerned about doing something that was drastic. Even though I knew he wouldn't do anything to Rick or somebody that big, I thought he would actually be he was the first one I thought could actually do something. But maybe like kill somebody like a T-Dog or a what's another one? I know there were a couple more back in that season 3. That kind of a mid in between a major and a minor character, like that mid-level character. But I thought Tomas could be the first one that could actually do something. And Andrew, he was only in what, 3 episodes, and he ran away after this. In between the second and the third episode he was in, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but he was not in season 3 all that much. And he took a couple episodes break at least, and he was just running away and hiding. And Andrew was just pretty much a sidekick to Tomas. Tomas was the real big bad of the prison gang, but they were pretty good for that in that time of the show. In my opinion, the best of the cowardly villains in The Walking Dead was Nicholas. Oh man, if there was one cowardly villain I hated more than Gregory, it was Nicholas. Even at the end of his run on the show, up until freaking the cause of the dumpster incident, I hated Nicholas. I really did. Then again, it was pretty funny when everybody freaked out after that dumpster, when that episode aired, episode 3 of season 6. It was pretty funny watching everybody freak out after Glenn was supposedly dead. Now, honestly, this is another one that I didn't really consider a villain. And I really have no idea why. I really don't. And it's Lizzie. I don't know why I never really considered her a villain. I guess because she never really was that big of a threat to Rick or someone like that, but she was a big threat to Baby Judith and Carol and Tyrese. Well, not really Carol and Tyrese, but mainly Baby Judith. She was a real big threat to her, with her smothering or trying to smother Judith in the woods when the walkers were coming towards her and Mika. And Mika, oh my, I forgot how messed up Lizzie was. I rewatched season 4 recently, I forgot how messed up Lizzie was. I'll be completely honest. I remember she was messed up because she couldn't tell the difference between she didn't want to kill the walkers. She wanted to play with them and keep them as basically a pet. I knew she was deranged. I knew that. I remember that much. And I remembered she killed her sister and that kind of thing. But some of the stuff I just happened to forget. And I really have no idea why I never really considered her a villain. Even when the episodes were airing, I never really considered her really a villain. I didn't really consider her a good guy or a good girl, but I didn't really consider it was like Edwin Jenner, and there were a couple more that I've talked about like this on this ranking video. But she was just in between. She was just in between a good guy and a bad guy, or good girl, bad girl. From killing her sister to almost killing baby Judith on 2 separate occasions, maybe more. I can only think of 2 right off the top of my head. One when they were in the woods, and 2 after she killed Mika. But yeah, Lizzie, she's crazy. Now, I don't know if I'm alone on this one or not. If I am, it wouldn't be the first time, but I prefer Gareth and the Termites over Chris and the Hunters from the comics. Just like I do the Claimers over the Marauders. They were just more developed. And then again, the season 6 trailer set up the fact that, or supposedly the fact that they were going to team up, Gareth and Rick. And I believe that they might team up for a couple of episodes. I thought by the mid-season finale that the church massacre would have happened. I didn't think they would team up for very long, but I didn't expect them to do that church massacre in episode 3. I didn't expect it to be that soon, and that was by far my favorite part of the first half of season 5. And so I just prefer Gareth and the Termites over Chris and the Hunters from the comics. And they, like I said, they were just more developed, and you understood their motive besides just being lunatics. Gareth and the Hunters I prefer over Gareth and the Termites I prefer over Chris and the Hunters from the comics. Now the top 3 are usually going to be the same. I don't think anybody's going to debate who's going to be in the top 3. The arguments come from who ranks where. And in my case, my number 3 would be the Governor. I know a lot of people who read the comics and watch the show don't really care for the Governor because he wasn't as dark. He wasn't as mature. He wasn't as violent. With the stuff that happened in the comics, there was no way they would be able to show that in the show at that time. Now they probably could get away with it, but back then there was no way they would get away with him literally raping Michonne. The Michonne torture in the show, Michonne basically just stabbed him in the eye, and that was literally it. In the comics, it was way much. I don't even want to get into the stuff that Michonne did to the Governor. If you want to read about it, go look it up. But Michonne basically violated the Governor. And violated might be an understatement. Oh, man. But, I mean, for what they could do at the season 3, the Governor was good. Or, I don't want to say great, but he was good. Minus the whole Andrea thing, that yeah, minus that was the only thing really keeping him from being higher. God, I hated that crappy storyline.
Coming in at number 2 would be Shane, Rick's best friend that got seduced by Lori. I can do a rant on how much I hate Lori. Man, but I do wish that Shane would have survived much longer in the show, because he really could become a real big player in the war against Negan and the war against the governor and all that stuff that would have happened. He would have really been a big help in those storylines. But then again, he did survive in the show much longer than he did in the comics. So, and most of the reason for that is because of Jon Bernthal, which Jon Bernthal was fantastic as Shane. He made a character in the comics that was honestly pretty unmemorable, pretty forgettable character into one of the best characters in the entire series. Best villain in the show is Negan. There was no real other person, really. In only a season and a half and one episode, Negan has done more than all of these villains combined. He killed Glenn, he killed Abraham, he killed Spencer, killed Olivia, he tortured Daryl, he bombed Alexandria, he might have turned Eugene over to the dark side. He's burned 2 people, Dwight and Mark, with an iron to the face. He threw a doctor into the furnace and made him burn alive. He almost made Rick cut Carl's hand off. I could go on. And there is way more to come in the second half of season 8. And probably will, but if he does survive the all-out war, like I hope he will, there's so much more to come for the Negan to do. I mean, the only redeeming thing about him as of right now in the show is his code against rape. When he killed that creepy savior who attempted to rape Sasha. I know they said his name somewhere, but I can't remember. It's like Dave or David or something like that, but it doesn't matter. That creepy savior, if you've seen the show, you know who I'm talking about. That's his only redeeming quality characteristic, is that he has zero tolerance when it comes to rape. I mean, other than that, and Negan, without a doubt, is number 1. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this series. Would you like to see more? Feel free to leave a suggestion on the future ranking topic. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends and family. As always, like me on Facebook at JMash97, follow me on Twitter at JMash97, follow me on Instagram at JMash_97. All of those social media links are in the description below. Mash out.